What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Rumpier Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. We are here breaking down the 14-game MLB slate. We had 6 games yesterday. I think we got you guys on the right path. Today we have 14 games, a lot more options. So we'll go through and follow the same format we always do. Talk about the pitchers. We'll talk about the positions. We'll talk about some stacks, and we'll get to the plays of the day at the end, assuming you guys hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. As I always say, it helps us to continue to bring you guys these shows on a daily basis. So hit that like, hit that subscribe when you come on in, and then we'll get to some winners. So I am joined by my boys, just like yesterday, Title, DC. DC, what's going on? Full slate today. Your initial thoughts here.
I love this slate. Really, really excited for this one, to be honest. I think there's a number of different ways you can go. Both at pitcher, stacks, obviously 14 games on the slate, like you mentioned. I don't think there's really any major weather concern whatsoever. So it just looks like an awesome day of baseball, awesome night of baseball, to be honest. I love these huge slates. Talked to yesterday where, I just didn't see necessarily a huge edge, or didn't think I had, information that maybe other people weren't thinking about. This one's different. I'll have some strong takes on this show for sure. And I'm excited for tonight, playing a bunch of lineups and, ready to talk about it.
Your spin rate guy, Mr. Garrett Cole, is back on the mound.
Back on the mound, yeah. I got a little theory going on with some of these guys too, where I think the high velocity fastballs are going to be playing up more and more this year. I think we've seen, over the course of the last few years, breaking balls have become more and more prevalent at the expense of the fastball. I think with this new rule, you saw them checking players and all that stuff. I think guys who can throw gas past hitters are going to kind of come back to the forefront. We got a couple of those guys on this slate tonight, Garrett Cole and Zach Wheeler, another guy touching 100 miles per hour with that fastball.
Yeah, looking forward to hear your breakdown there. Title Town, what's going on, my man?
Yeah, what's going on? A lot better slate than we had yesterday. Over double the games, tons of good pitching options, and pretty much all tiers. Top tiers loaded. Some mid tier options, some underpriced players, and then hitters. I mean, Toro's still 2.1K. Top prospect making his debut. He's 2K. I see DC. He was in Discord talking about him a lot too. So we have cheap hitters like usual. Top tier pitchers. I know that's how I've approached a lot of it. Same as you, Hoop. I've just been jamming in the top pitchers, and they're going to get you 6+ innings. You feel comfortable with their pitch count, their strikeouts, even if they get hit around a little bit. Whereas I don't think you need the risk as much, but we'll break it all down. Very good slate for sure. I'm excited to talk and hear DC's theory too.
Yeah, before we get into that, we'll talk about our members never win segment, which is kind of a play on words because we know our members have had a lot of success, and we're going to highlight one with, this is a ROI monster, not the biggest win, $500 win total, but only $1.75 in play. Our boy Jerker. This was in NASCAR, and NASCAR is, part of our package where you get all the sports. I know some of the other sites around the industry, they exclude NASCAR from their main package. At Rumpier Sports, NASCAR is included, and I feel that we have the strongest team in the industry, headed up by our boy Matty Ice and Coop. Just phenomenal breakdown for every single race. Jerker followed that their playbook basically and turned $1.75 into $500. So congratulations to him. And yesterday, if you listened on the show, we gave away a $555 ticket on the Up to Lock show with JSU and BigT. So the winner of that was our boy the Kid, and JSU and BigT picked him to be the winner, but he decided to go with the Swing for the Fences members core DC, and got a cash. I mean, he didn't get the big prize up top, didn't get the 100,000, but I believe it was a min cash. What was it, $750? I believe, right?
Yeah, I think when you're getting a ticket playing higher than you usually are, you'll take that min cash. We're rooting for better, but min cash is good. Play of the day, Fernando Tatis saved him in the end in that late game. Pitching was just okay. He went with the Gibson Montas combo. Montas sucked. Gibson was all right. Obviously, Darvish, you wanted him, but got the min cash, so that'll work.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple wins that we wanted to highlight. If you want to be a part of this segment, like I always say, just tag us on Twitter, send us an email, send us a message in Discord, a screenshot of your win, and we'll talk about it here on the show right off the top. So Yeah, go ahead and get those in, and we'll give you a shout out during this segment. All right. Not too much more. I think we can go ahead and kind of hop into the pitchers, and it's a full 14 game slate. So, we'll spend a decent chunk of the time here because I think what you do at pitcher is pretty important. It always is in MLB DFS, but today I think it really is because we have a lot of options at the top. Garrett Cole at 11K. We got Scherzer 10.8, Wheeler 10.2, and then Freddie Peralta over 10K as well. We were a little bit concerned with Garrett Cole with the spin rate stuff. Had that one real bad start against Tampa Bay where he only went 5 innings and gave up 5 earned runs. But he's bounced back pretty nicely. A 6-inning, 9 strikeout game against the Twins, and then went 8 innings, only 4 strikeouts against Toronto, but still managed to get 23 fantasy points. And just really easy to get up to this top tier, like Title kind of pointed out in the opening. We have cheap guys. We're probably going to get more really cheap guys, which makes it very easy. So for me personally, it's going to be Cole up top. However, I don't mind saving a little bit and coming down if you can't get to Cole, and Giolito at 9.4K. It's just a really good price tag for him in a good matchup, good pitcher's ballpark. 9.4K, very solid price tag for him. So I have interest in him as well in this top tier, like 9K and above, I'd say. Kershaw's there at 9.2. I suppose you could play him. I don't love him all that much in this matchup against the Padres. So for me, my 2 favorites up here are Cole, Giolito, and Wheeler. I got to throw Wheeler in that conversation too because he's been pitching really, really well, and I think DC has a little bit more to say about him. So actually, I'll just go ahead and throw it to DC right now. Talk to me about this upper tier at pitcher.
I mean, it's pretty awesome, right? Like a number of ways you can go here. There's one cheap pitcher that I really like. We'll get there eventually, but kind of my slate strategy, I guess, is to kind of mix and match these top guys with the cheap guy that I do like. A little bit hard to differentiate these guys, right? I mean, Cole's been fantastic. I guess I would probably say I'm almost less concerned about Cole than I was maybe a week or 2 ago. Like, again, I just kind of think these premium velocity guys are going to continue to do their thing. Cole won't be quite the same, without the foreign substances, but he's still going to be really good. He's still going to strike out guys, go deep into games, kind of like Title said. Scherzer, I mean, you could make an argument for him too. He is coming back from a short IL stint. He pitched, 1 batter, I think, in his previous start, had a groin injury. I think it was on the 10-day IL for the minimum amount of time. So I don't know for sure. He threw a 40-pitch bullpen on Saturday, said he's good to go. Might be, maybe not. We just don't know for sure, but I think he's okay. I think I have him behind both Cole and Wheeler, who has been just a revelation this year. I mean, he's kind of, almost pitching like a prime Garrett Cole, just 100 to 110 pitches every start, going deep, and just, I mean, nobody can touch him, right? It almost doesn't matter who he faces. He's just throwing gas past everybody. It's just the premium velocity that he's showing. So I think Wheeler's an awesome play. I think I slightly prefer Wheeler to Cole, but I think it's close there. Peralta, I'll probably pass on. I mean, on a different slate, I would have no problem playing with him. I don't think he's a bad play. I just prefer both Wheeler and Cole. Giolito against Pittsburgh, good umpire there, I believe, for him. So no problem with Giolito either. And then, yeah, I guess maybe a little more interest in Kershaw than you do, Hoop. Like he's been awesome too. And I think, with all the stuff going on, I think Kershaw is going to kind of almost like rise to the top, right? As other pitchers fall back just a little bit, 5-10%. I think Kershaw is going to kind of keep doing what he's been doing. So people write him off a little bit because he's not the same guy he used to be, but I really like Clayton Kershaw too. So a really, really strong top tier for me. I think I ranked them, for me, with a little bit of savings. I'll go Kershaw 1, actually, Wheeler 2, Giolito 3, Cole 4, but all these guys are awesome plays. I have not, I think if you're on one of these guys, I don't think you need to switch, right? It's just kind of hard to predict who's going to have the best performance. I think they'll all pitch really well, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a loaded upper tier, a lot of different ways to go. Title, give me your thoughts up here.
Yeah, it's definitely loaded, like DC said. Garrett Cole is my number 1 today at 11K. And he's probably going to be the most popular too. So it's not out there in tournaments. It's not you don't just lock them in or play like 70% or 80%. I mean,
if you're playing a lot of lineups, I would mix and match these guys. I really
yep.
would. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, because they're just so talented and pretty good matchups too. You don't know who's going to have. I mean, we have to make some.
Which one of them, gives up the 3-run home run compared to gets that strikeout? Like you just don't know. You know what I mean? Like
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
If ranking them though, Garrett Cole is my number one. Kansas City has the lowest team total on the board. Garrett Cole had the highest strikeout prop, but I just saw they put up Max Scherzer is at 8.5. There's juice on the under, but that is definitely it makes me like Max Scherzer in tournaments a good amount because I think people are going to be scared, which I'm a little concerned with. I mean, he only pitched one batter and then he took himself out, but 10.8K, I think he gets overlooked a little bit with Cole. I think pairing them is pretty interesting too. There's enough value. I mean, we talked about Toro's 2.1. Yeah, I like him at 10.8, but I also like Wheeler a lot. This is so tough for me. Scherzer probably in tournaments is going to be my favorite guy with Zach Wheeler, and then Cole is going to be my guy in cash games. So I'm going to rank them Cole 1 in cash games, but I'm going to go Wheeler, Scherzer, very, very close in tournaments. 10.2K though is just, I mean, that's a nice discount. 600 off of Wheeler, 800 off of Garrett Cole. That goes pretty far. So I think those are the three best pitchers for sure. They are priced all up there. I'm not going to play Freddie Peralta at 10K. On a normal slate, if there was only one of these guys or something, I'd be fine with Freddie. But at the end of the day, these guys are a step above them. And then, yeah, you get a nice discount for Giolito and Kershaw. I'm leaning Lucas Giolito at 9.4K. You get a better pitcher's park in PNC. Pirates team that they don't strike out a ton, but they don't have too much power. They have Brian Hayes, a couple bats that are a little scary, but I'm more scared of San Diego than I am Pittsburgh for sure. So 9.4K, I do lean Giolito there. And I'm fine if you can't get up to Cole Wheeler or Cole Scherzer in cash, I'm fine just going Cole Giolito. And that actually might be my favorite pairing in cash games and be more popular because the savings go a long way. So I'm going to rank them Cole 1, point per dollar, Cole, Giolito, Wheeler, Scherzer. But I think ownership's going to go like that. So I think Wheeler, Scherzer in tournaments is going to be a very good pairing. And that's what I like. I mean, we'll get to lower and mid tier too, which there are some options, but that's how I'm going to rank them.
We always talk about on the show, and we're all pretty much in lockstep where we keep our player pool at pitcher pretty tight. And, to me, this slate's a little bit different. If I'm playing tournaments, I want a lot of exposure to the guys up top, and I have guys down low that I want exposure to too. I guess, DC kind of sold me a little bit more on Clayton Kershaw. So yeah, I mean, to me, there's 4 or 5 guys up top that I feel like I want some exposure to. Now we travel down to this lower tier. This is where it gets tough because there's probably another 4 guys that I feel pretty good about and don't mind getting exposure to. I'm going to rattle off a few of my guys, and then you guys can hop in and add on. Charlie Morton at 7.3, have interest in him. Ross Stripling at 5.7, Flexen at 5.5. And there's one more dude that I was looking at as Rodriguez, Eduardo Rodriguez for the Red Sox at 6.4. I have interest in all those guys. And like I said, for cash games, now that these lineups are starting to roll out, it's going to be pretty easy to get 2 of those guys in the top tier. We have some elite cheap value that we'll get to when we talk about the bat. So in cash games, I don't think you really need to plan on coming down here. You can. I mean, if you really want some of these big bats, I mean, I'd feel fine coming down here. But in cash games, most likely you're going to be able to get 2 of these guys over 9K pretty easily. I mean, we have 2 full punts that are actually really, really good plays. We have some 3K guys that are really, really good plays as well. But in tournaments, when, if you're looking to stack and you're trying to get some of these expensive stacks in, those 4 guys that I rattled off, I feel pretty good with mixing and matching. DC, talk to me about some of these cheaper guys here tonight.
Yeah. First, just like a little strategy note. I do think this is a good slate. If you're a premium member at Run Pier Sports, you've got a specific person you like rolling with their cores. You can make pretty good 2v2s, right? You got Cole on one team, you got your core plays. You go down from Cole to Kershaw or Cole to Giolito, gives you $1,600 extra dollars. You upgrade one of your one-offs, right? You can stick with the same stack. You get just like a nice 2v2 there. It's a great slate to make those kind of lineups. I've got a bunch of lineups that look very similar, but they're just 2v2s, 3v3s, right? Off of my favorite lineup. And I think that's a really good way to approach this slate in general. Cheap guys. Did you mention Ross Stripling? I missed it.
Yeah, I have interest in him. Like the guys I would talk about, like Flexen, Stripling, Eduardo Rodriguez, and then Morton was the other guy. Those four are kind of who I'm looking at.
Yeah, so the two I'm down the heaviest down here is Charlie Morton against the Mets. He's been good, looked awesome his last start. He had kind of had that slow start to the year. I think people were writing him off way too early. I think Morton's still a very, very good pitcher. And this Mets lineup, I mean, there's like nobody there that you're really scared of, frankly. Even Francisco Lindor hasn't been hitting that good. Pete Alonso, I mean, kind of looks like strikeouts to Charlie for Charlie Morton to me. So I really like him at 7,300. Yeah, I think Erod is fine at 6,400. Like you said, you mentioned him. Skubal at 6,600 has shown strikeout upside. I actually like, kind of weirdly, I guess, both sides of this. Skubal obviously has strikeout upside, but the Cardinals do have some right-handed power, which is his biggest weakness. So I don't know for sure which side of that is going to win out. I could see Skubal striking out 7 or 8 guys and giving up 2 home runs, though, is basically kind of what I'm seeing there. And then, Ross Stripling, I think he is way, way underpriced right now. The body of work this season doesn't look super great, but for one, he's improving. I basically think he is. I kind of did a deep dive on him because he is my favorite pitcher today. He'll be in, I think, almost every lineup I make. I think he's basically the same pitcher he was back in 2018, 2019 with the Dodgers, where he was, I mean, this is a guy with a low 3s ERA. We're talking 9 to 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, low walk rate, like just a really great pitcher. He didn't get to start full time then because the Dodgers were so deep in pitching, but he goes really good. And I think he's that same guy. One thing that's interesting, if you look at his matchups throughout the year, I can read them to you. At the Yankees, Angels, Atlanta, at Houston, at Atlanta, Boston, Tampa, at Cleveland, Houston again, at Boston, Yankees. Like, I don't know this for sure, but I would guess he's had the very hardest schedule of any starting pitcher in baseball. And he's held his own and starting to look good. Now he gets to go into Miami, right? A National League park, big park, bad lineup, 5,700, can give you 100 pitches. I mean, I would play him probably at 8K on this slate, and he's 5,700. So Stripling the guy for me down here.
Yeah, I like that call. I mean, very tough game log there for Stripling.
Brutal.
5-7.
Brutal.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't get much tougher than that. 5-7. I agree. Like he's a guy I have a ton of interest in. Title, talk to me about some of these cheaper pitchers.
Yeah, I got 3 guys. I mean, it sounds like the same 3 you guys like that I narrowed it down to. Charlie Morton at 7.3K. Just a really good matchup against the Mets. That's not a good lineup, like DC said. That's too cheap. And then Eduardo Rodriguez, 6.4K. He has a 6.5K prop with juice on the over today. And if you look at that price and then just look at that K prop, you automatically have interest. You rather pick on Tampa Bay with lefties. His numbers, if you look at his game logs, aren't very good at all, but he seems to be pitching. I mean, 8 strikeouts, 5 strikeouts, 7 strikeouts in the last 3 games. He seems to be pitching a little better than his numbers have shown, similar to Ross Stripling, which is a third guy. He's pitched, I mean, last start against the Yankees, 100 pitches, which is something that I was concerned about his pitch count previously. He was hovering around the 80 pitch mark. They showed that he can pitch 100 pitches, which is something you really want. He's way too cheap too. So I think all 3 of these guys are too cheap. It's just crazy, the nature of the slate. I mean, you're going to get them at pretty reasonable ownership with how good the top tier is. And I agree with you. In cash games, I'm just going to stick to the top tier and I'm not going to go below Giolito. I mean, you can go Kershaw for sure. I prefer Giolito, but we just have the salary and have the bats that we're talking about. In tournaments, though, I wouldn't be shocked if one of those 3 guys outscored the top tier guys. I mean, they're good pitchers and good matchups with good strikeout spots at the end of the day. So pitching, I mean, today's the lineup. Do you want to play 20 lineups and you like doing that stuff? Be like Jerker. Jerker plays a lot of lineups, just lower dollar stakes. Get your 250x return and do it like that. I mean, it's hard not to like a lot of these pitchers. I mean, Skubal I like on a normal slate too, but I just can't play everyone. So I narrowed it down to Morton, Stripling, and Erod down below.
There's no question in my mind. Morton, Skubal, for sure Stripling all have 30 DraftKings points upside. They can get there. They just absolutely can. And you normally can't say that about guys priced at 5,700, right? You got pitch count concerns, matchup concerns, something. These guys I think are just high upside good pitchers in general. So like, of course things could go wrong. I think Skubal is the riskiest one among those three, but I mean, look what he's doing. Look at his upside. He can mow through a lineup when he's on. You know what I mean? Like he just has that kind of stuff. So he's a good play too. You'll get those guys. I was thinking Stripling was going to be super highly owned just because I like him so much. Sometimes, you're like, I think this guy's the best play, but obviously not everybody thinks that. So I don't know. I mean, I was in Discord. We were talking Stripling earlier in the day, and I was saying, people were saying under 10%. I was saying, no way. I don't know, but
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think he should be way higher personally.
Yeah, now that some of these lineups are coming out, we'll talk about it, like the Astros lineup and the Tampa Bay lineup. Now that we got some of these elite cheap guys and good hitting spots in the lineup, I think that really brings down the ownership of those. Cheap
that makes a lot of sense. Yep.
Yeah, like that. These elite value plays are going to have people going two spends at the pitcher position. So I think the ownership on all these cheap guys has come down substantially and could even more. I mean, we don't even have all the lineups, but the ones we do have, there's some really good value plays that we'll get to talking about. So, very good points all around. Before we hop into the bats, I just want to remind you guys, we have that promo going, RPS Heater 25 gets you 25% off your first payment of a monthly package over at Run Pure Sports, which includes every sport on our website. We don't break it up and upcharge you when new sports start. Like, we got NFL, I think I saw today, like in 80 days, NFL starting. These other sites, they're going to come knocking and say, all right, now you owe me, $350 if you want NFL content. It'd probably be more. I mean, inflation all around. So we could be about $400 this NFL season. But not at Run Pure Sports. One price for all our sports. Best deal you're going to find in the industry by far. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about is the podcast we have. Draft Cheat does it every morning with a new guest. They kind of do a first look at the MLB slate, talk about the slate from the night before. And if you go to any, iTunes, Apple, or iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, search Run Pure Sports, and you'll find us on there. All right. Also hit the like button too and subscribe. All right, let's talk catcher. Pretty unappealing position overall. A couple guys that I have interest in. The first would be Wilson Contreras. Really good price. I mean, only 4.1K for Contreras. We have cheap plays all over the board, which we'll get to. So, I mean, spending some money at catcher will be viable today. The problem is there's just not many guys to spend on. But Contreras at 4.1, I do like. If you want some exposure to the Astros, we talked about Maldonado a little bit yesterday. He wasn't in the lineup, but he's in there today, batting ninth, 2.7K. Don't hate him. If Tom Murphy gets a good lineup spot, 3.5K against Freeland. Those are a few of the guys I'm looking at. I mean, really, there's just not a lot of good plays here. And sometimes we catch slates where catcher's a somewhat strong position. Today is just not one of those days. So, if you do need to save money in full punt, I think it's fine. If you want to spend, I think Contreras is probably my favorite guy. Title, talk to me here about catcher.
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep 3 to 5 people at each position because there's going to be so many hitters at some of these positions we can talk about. I agree. Wilson Contreras at 4.1K. He's probably my favorite. I like the Cubs a lot today, so that price is too cheap for the power he has. Martin Maldonado, like you mentioned, the Astros are my favorite stack again. They're probably a lot of people's favorite stacks, though, in a very good spot again. He's in the 9 hole, but that's how you get your wraparounds.
Hitting us with his sneaky stack of the day right out of they
need to watch the rest of the show. Yeah, you guys.
At least I play all the chalk because yesterday if I play the Orioles, look, they didn't do anything for me. So hey, sometimes the chalk's where you got to go, and obviously it's the best spot. But there's other good spots on the slate. He's in the 9 hole, 2.7K, get you exposure to the best offense. Then on Seattle, I'm hoping Luis Torrens is in the lineup at 2.3K against Freeland. He's been smashing the ball lately. I don't know if it's going to be him or Murphy, but he's 2.3K. I don't like Kyle Freeland. I don't think he's any good. So I have some exposure. Seattle's very cheap. If he's in the lineup, I like him a lot at 2.3K. or you can go to Dalton Varsho if he's not in the lineup at 2.2K as a full punt.
Yeah, I mean, overall, pretty weak position. We're really scrambling here for names, despite it being a 14-game slate. DC, thoughts here at catcher?
To me, there's one guy that really stands out as the best play here if you can afford him. And I think you'll hear me recommending kind of a lot of expensive guys on this slate, just because I am going almost certainly with Ross Stripling, so I can kind of get some of these top end bats. Whereas you guys, sounds like you're paying up for 2 pitchers. Totally get that strategy, but you kind of, at each position, you guys are kind of looking at for the best value play, and I'm kind of looking at for the just the best overall play. To me, clearly Buster Posey on this slate. I mean, this dude has just been crushing it all year long. Not just a hot start for him. He's hitting .330 with 12 home runs as a catcher. Like, this is just, I mean, I was kind of called it at the beginning of the year. Big T called me out like, "Oh, Buster Posey."
Big T came right at you. I mean, I
was wondering which side it was. I remember that.
I mean, yeah. Listen, Big T, I can't come after the man. He's on the most epic DFS heater ever, but he was wrong about one thing at least.
When Big T's wrong, we have to call. I mean, you have to call it out. I mean, you can't give him any free. At this point, he gets no free passes.
Yes, he has to be right about everything, otherwise he gets called out, and no matter what it is. And man, Buster Posey has just been on fire. He won an NL MVP, right? And he looks to me exactly like that hitter now. That year off, he took 2020 off, right? He had like hip surgery. He took the whole year off. This dude's back, and he is crushing lefties. He's the second or third highest OPS, WOBA, whatever stat you want to use against lefties on the season of all hitters. And he gets Andrew Heaney, a lefty who gives up a ton of home runs. It's warmer than usual in Anaheim, 75 degrees, wind blowing out. Like, I mean, I just think Buster Posey is like legitimately one of the very, very best hitters on this slate at an ugly position. I think he really provides kind of a big advantage there. So, yeah, Posey the catcher I'm honing in on tonight.
Yeah, and just to poke at Big T a little bit more, the worst part about arguing with Big T, like by far, is you were clearly on the right side of that argument. His ass would come on here today and stick with his initial point. Like, he would not cave on the Buster Posey thing. Like, that's just how Big T rolls. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. There's no argument that you can make. He just isn't moving.
Nope, he's sticking with it, and that's it. So we'll get him to take some L's here eventually. But the Posey thing, there's no way he'll do it. I mean, he still won't even take the L on Carson Wentz, and he might end up coming out on top.
That one he might be right on.
The
best spot possible.
I know. Nobody runs better than Big T. What can we say?
No,
dude's running pure right now. Carson Wentz to the Colts. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. All right, let's head on over to first base. A lot of solid plays here that we'll kind of discuss. With some of these lineups that have already come out, we have some elite value here already at first base. Danny Santana, 2.7K leading off. The Yankees lineup just came out not too long ago. Luke Voit in there batting third, and for some reason he's 2.7K. Just a silly price tag on him. If Ty France is in there, 2.9K. I like the Mariners a little bit tonight. You get Paul Goldschmidt against the lefty, 4.8K. Anthony Rizzo, I like at 4.9K. Like Title said, I mean, there's going to be a ton of guys at each position. First base, though, I mean, it's kind of shaping up to potentially be a spot where you can save some money. Now, this is the difference today between cash games and tournaments. For cash games, Title and I have made it clear we're probably going to be looking to spend up on 2 pitchers. In tournaments, DC is going to be going a different route. So we're looking for these guys that are cheap in good lineup spots. DC is just looking for raw points, essentially. So this would be a good contrast throughout the show.
It's a good setup for a show, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Voit, Santana, France, I'm assuming Title, those are 3 guys you're kind of looking at, right?
Yeah, definitely. But this is a position that I might force a spend up in Shohei Ohtani at 5.4K. I think he's one of the best. I think he's probably the best hitter on the slate. 5.4K feels a little cheap. And you can also play like Ty France at third base too, which I'd much rather play him there. Or you can play Ohtani in the outfield too, and then play a Luke Voit. So I totally agree. Voit, Ty France definitely stand out, but Shohei Ohtani against Esclafani, I really, really like, and I'm going to try and get him in all my lineups. So
Yeah.
other than that, though, but you can play my outfield, France at third and Void at first, and you just got, I mean, there's Toro and other stuff, but yeah, I mean, totally agree.
A lot of flexibility, and I'm with you with the Cubs. I like the Cubs a little bit too. So Rizzo's another guy that if I have to spend somewhere, which I mean, there's bets. I mean, the pricing is just egregious on some of these guys, which we'll get to throughout the show. I mean, you're probably going to have to force in spends essentially. So this could be a spot. I do agree with that take. DC, talk to me about some of the guys you're looking at first base.
Yeah, I mean, it's Shohei Ohtani. I just think he should be a priority play to get into your lineup tonight. He's been ridiculous. You know, we've been on him here at RPS from opening day, I think, pretty much. I don't think he's slowing down anytime soon. You know what I mean? Like, I think Shohei Ohtani is going to hit 50 home runs this year and steal 25 bases. Like, and so when you know that's going to be the likely outcome at the end of the year, you should try to make it a priority to play him anytime he's in a good matchup. You know what I mean? Because that's where most of the damage is going to come from. The last time I was really, really in on both Ohtani and his teammate, Jared Walsh, who's actually my second favorite first baseman here, was against Jose Urania against the Tigers. They combined for 3 home runs in that game. This is a similar matchup to me. Every single year, Desclafani gives up a ton of home runs to left-handed hitters, and I think that's going to happen tonight. I think Shohei Ohtani is going to take him deep. But, you know, I would bet the home run prop. I think he's just got a great chance to do damage here. Obviously can play him in outfield as well. The top end of this range, though, outside of Ohtani and Walsh, I don't love that much of it, right? I don't really want to play Vladimir Guerrero as good as he is for 6,700 in Miami against Alcantara, who doesn't give up any home runs. Like, that's not a spend I want to make. Freddie Freeman against Marcus Stroman, like, sure, but Stroman, another guy, keeps the ball on the ground, just a good pitcher overall. Matt Olson, I think you could spend on at 5,600. Dude's been a beast. He's going to get Hearn, a lefty, as an opener, but then he's going to get Jordan Lyles. I think the Oakland A's have a good chance to be a somewhat under the radar stack. Walsh I talked about. He's not on Ohtani's level, but he's not far behind either against righties. 18 home runs, 51 RBIs on the year. And then the final guy I'll throw in, I mentioned this once in a while, I do like right-handed power against Zach Greinke, who does get hit much harder by righties, doesn't walk them ever. So, you know, your hitter is going to get a chance to put the ball in play. Trey Mancini, I think, is a little bit sneaky, 5,100. He will have, I would assume, close to zero ownership tonight. So if you want to pivot there with big upside, Trey Mancini, I think, fits the bill.
Yeah, love all that. Let's talk some second baseman, and at the top we have Jose Altuve. He's 5.5K. Continues to hit the ball well. He is in a really good spot. Obviously, the highest team total on the slate belongs to the Houston Astros. They're somewhere between 5.5 and 6 runs tonight. If you don't want to spend all the way up and you want to save a little bit of money, you can look to Robel Garcia, batting second for the Astros, only 3.2K. This is the type of guy that you play in those lineups where you spend up at both your pitcher spots, like Title and I have kind of talked about. I think those two guys will carry most ownership at the position, and rightfully so. Somewhere in the middle, we have Jazz Chisholm, 3.5K. Don't hate him. Just a few of the guys I'm kind of looking at here at the position. But like I said, I think majority of the ownership is going to come on those Houston Astro guys. Let's stick with you, DC. Thoughts at second base?
Yeah, I mean, you can't really argue with Altuve at this point, right? In Baltimore against a pretty bad pitcher in Jorge Lopez. Really, you can't argue with any of the Astros. If you want to play the Astros, I mean, by all means, you know what I mean? Like, they're probably going to go off again. So I don't know. I don't have a ton to add on that. This will be, I guess, the first Dodger that I recommend, but several more coming. I really, really like the Dodgers against Blake Snell. If you're looking at the Vegas odds, they're not going to agree with me, right? Dodgers projected below 4 runs. I don't really get it. Blake Snell has been genuinely awful this year against right-handed hitters, rather. Among all qualified pitchers in baseball, he's got the 5th worst ERA on the season, 6.39 ERA allowed to right-handed bats for Blake Snell. He does not go deep into games, right? He's had the occasional gem, but he's had, I think like just as many negative games as negative point DraftKings games. Obviously, your hitters are going to do well in those situations as just about anybody. I think he's going to really struggle against the Dodgers. And then obviously we're not talking stacks quite yet, but San Diego's bullpen, they haven't had a day off in I think 6 games. Their good guys are gassed. They're going to get some bad pitchers out of the pen if they get to Blake Snell, right? Which I think they will. So Chris Taylor, who has just smashed lefties all year long, you won't see people on him, but I genuinely feel this is a great matchup for Chris Taylor and some of these other Dodger righties. So he's my main guy. A pivot off of Altuve. I think you'll see Altuve. What do we think? 30 to 40% owned, maybe something like that. I mean, I think you'll see Chris Taylor 5 to 10% owned. We talked about it with Correa and Tatis yesterday. This is a little bit of a similar situation to me. So I do think you can make this pivot. It's one I'll be making. And, I fully expect the Dodgers to go off. This is not a, just stacking them to be contrarian type of thing. I think Snell is genuinely bad against righties right now. And I think the Dodgers will get to him. They get Max Muncy back today. I'm not as interested lefty, but he's a guy that lengthens the lineup, right? Takes a ton of walks. That's a great guy to have in there if you're stacking the other Dodgers. So Chris Taylor, the guy for me up here.
Yeah, I mean the combination of Altuve, Garcia, I mean, has to be what do you think? Title 60-ish%
over half the field, you would think, right?
Yeah, cash games has got to be like 80 plus, tournaments 50, yeah, over half the field for sure. I think so. Chris Taylor you'll probably get him at 5%, probably under.
I'm in.
I mean, I say that, and then we get all these people that are watching the show too and use your core and stuff. So that
higher owned yesterday than I thought. He came in like 14%. I didn't think there was any way he was going to get that high.
Yeah, me too.
We were saying we were joking on the show, but I might be true. I don't know.
Who did we? Who was it?
Fernando Tatis. I was saying.
Oh, what did he come in at?
Like 13. I saw 12, 13.
Yeah.
He was higher than I thought too.
Between 10 and 15, which I thought
DC,
I was not
just true. I mean, DC's moving the needle.
And he crushed.
The needle mover.
Yeah.
I don't want to go that far, but I don't know. It was a little weird seeing him super high.
I'm shocked he was that high, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
When did that I can't remember. Did that lineup come out early or was it closer to lock?
I can't remember. I
think what might have happened, some people jumped off the Astros, right? Because they were worried about
the weather.
Oh, the weather, yeah. It was only 6 game slate. Yeah. Title, you talk about second base yet?
No, but I'm very similar to you. Altuve and Garcia, of course. 2 guys that aren't named Astros that I would play are Dylan Moore and then Jazz Chisholm. I like both of those guys. I like Dylan Moore better against Freeland. He's only 3.1K, but then Jazz Chisholm at the top of the lineup. I know DC likes Stripling, so I don't love it, but 3.5K is too cheap. But Jazz Chisholm's a good ball player. So
no problem at all, Jazz Chisholm. It's not like Stripling's some untouchable dude.
Yeah. I mean, he's 5'7", like we talk about.
And Stripling will give up home runs because he's not like an overpowering type pitcher. He's like kind of a command, and those guys, if they leave one out over the plate, it gets hit hard, which is going to happen, once a game usually.
Yeah. Certainly. All right, let's head on over and talk third base. And I mean, much like second base, a ton of the ownership here is going to be Astros. We got I talked about Garcia at second base. He's third base eligible as well at 3.2K, batting second for the Astros. And then for some reason, this Toro guy is still 2.1K. And I think yesterday he batted 7th. Today he's batting 6th. He'll be massively owned now.
What did Toro's ownership end up being yesterday?
He was in tournaments. I'm not exactly sure. Cash games, I think he was like 45 or something. FanDuel is a little less because you only could play 4, but
sure.
I think it was above 50 in cash. I mean, today he's going to be really popular too because you're going to pay up for people are going to pay up for 2 pitchers. You can play Toro at basically free and then move on. So he'll be very popular again.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost to the point they should almost bring up the minimum price. I mean, the minimum price guys should be guys that barely ever play. And when they do play, they're like batting 9th and they have pinch hit risk as well. Like not the highest team total on the slate. And
I mean,
sixth, but
they know that
catcher like Toro, like he can hit a little bit, you know what I mean? He's not like some terrible hitter.
It's just simple, like way to fix this. Like the Astros are facing the Orioles. The total is going to be high. Like don't price any of their hitters under 3K.
3K, 3K minimum price. There you go. Yep.
Yeah, it just Yeah, I don't know. There's going to be a ton of overlap, especially in cash games. Tournaments, so probably a good opportunity. I mean, DC will obviously talk about that, but a good opportunity to look elsewhere for sure. But, Garcia, Toro, premier value plays. Ty France, we talked about him at first base. You can also play him at third base here. Yandy Diaz batting leadoff. We said we liked Erod, still do, but 3.2K for Diaz. Don't hate that. Chris Bryant, 5.2K. I'm on him a little bit here today. Arenado has a big boy price tag, 5.8K, but he gets a lefty in tournaments. I could potentially look to him. And then like Matt Chapman's another guy. I like Oakland here a little bit, 4.7K. Don't hate that. But, cash games, it's going to be those Astros guys. Tournaments, I think anyone else you don't have to really worry about in terms of ownership. Should be pretty spread out outside of those Astros guys. DC, talk to me about their base.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I like this slate so much is normally recommending the highest priced position players at each position, is like the chalky recommendation, or it's like, oh, of course I was going to play those guys. This slate, not so much. I think we led every position so far except for catcher with Astros. We'll get to the outfield. It's going to be more Astros. It's going to be Carlos Correa when we get to shortstop. All great plays. Again, I'm not saying don't play the Astros, but two guys I like up top, at the very top, once again, Nolan Arenado against a lefty who I think he's given up 16, 17 home runs. I think Skubal still leads baseball in home runs given up, most of them to right-handed bats. Nolan Arenado, not the exact same player he was in Coors Field, of course, but this guy has been killing lefties for years. He's doing it again this year. Great matchup against Skubal. Great opportunity for Nolan Arenado to pull one out of the ballpark here. Just, he's going to get fastballs. He's going to be trying to tee off, and he's got a good chance to connect with one. There's no question about it. And then Justin Turner, I said I was going to be back on the Dodgers, so I won't dwell on their stack again, but I really, really like their chances against Blake Snell. Turner, remember, he started the year off super, super hot. He went through a little bit of a down stretch there. I kind of suspect he was playing through perhaps some minor injuries, but he's back now. He's smashing the ball once again up against Blake Snell. Love that matchup for him. So Arenado, Turner, the two guys at the top that I think I want to play. And then I mentioned it yesterday, so I won't dwell on it, but if you aren't stacking the Astros, I really would advise against playing Toro in tournaments. Cash games, obviously, totally fine. Tournaments, he's just not likely to do a ton of damage on his own if the Astros don't go off.
Yeah, that's a good point you made yesterday, and certainly applies to today's slate as well. I mean, these cheap Astros guys are going to be very, very popular. If you're not stacking them, no reason to play these guys as one-offs. Title, thoughts here at third base?
Yeah, I mean, I'm mainly a cash game player. So my route's pretty obvious. Two pitchers up top. I love Ohtani. We're going to get to Alvarez, who I love. Toro's just sitting there staring at me at 2.1K, and it makes so much stuff work. So I'm going to do there. If I have to say a tournament guy, a spend up, it would be Matt Chapman, 4.7K. I do like the ace today, so he'd be my favorite spend up, but spending up is going to be contrarian at this position. And if you're going DC's route, I mean, it totally makes sense. Toro's not going to double dong more than likely. Matt Chapman can double dong. So the upside's definitely there, and it makes sense a lot in tournaments.
I would 100% play Toro in cash games rather. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad play. It's just the tournament strategy of it. Yep.
100%.
Yep. All right. Let's talk shortstop, and you go over shortstop and another position where, despite it being a 14-game slate, there's not a ton of super appealing options. At the top, I think the highest I'd probably go kind of like Baez. Sticking with those Cubs, 4.3K. But again, we have a really, really cheap play here that kind of stands out. Now, the hope is people don't understand that this guy's one of the top prospects in baseball, but Wander Franco got called up, and he's batting second. And of course, because why not? He is $2,000, the stone minimum price on DraftKings. So another super, super cheap play. These are the guys that you're playing to, play the stud pitchers. But this guy is going to be good, and he's not going to be 2K for very long. Ownership, I don't know. I mean, I'll let DC talk about that. I have no clue where he's going to be in terms of ownership.
Too low. Too low is where he'll be.
You think?
Yes.
I think like in the higher stake stuff, his ownership will be it's one of those situations. In the higher stake stuff, I think his ownership will be high. In the lower stake stuff, mid-tier stuff, I think it will be way too low. Kind of like what DC's alluding to. Jazz Chisholm, 3.5K. You can play him second base, shortstop. Don't hate that. Tim Anderson, maybe another guy you can look at, 4.7K against a lefty. But I mean, for me, obviously the premier play here is Franco. And you kind of just hope the ownership's not all that high. Title, thoughts here at shortstop?
Yeah, I mean, 2K if you needed one, Franco is one of the best plays, but everyone, I mean, we all made that clear. I assume most people know that. Outside of him, Javi Baez at 4.3K is too cheap. We like the Cubs. He has upside there. So I like him a lot if you're going up. And then Tim Anderson, like you mentioned, we haven't talked about the White Sox too much. If Mangone was on the show, I assume they would have been brought up a ton already, but I mean, yeah, we like picking on Tyler Anderson. He's okay. I don't think he's very good. I don't think he's awful, but the White Sox are just very good against lefties and they mash them. I think stacking the White Sox is very viable. And 4.7K, if you play Ross Stripling too, they are pretty expensive. So that's why their ownership isn't going to be crazy. And there's the Astros and other spots, but if you have the money you're spending down at pitcher, I think a White Sox stack makes a lot of sense. And Tim Anderson, 4.7K, I like him leading off. But Javi Baez and Franco are definitely my two favorites. So I'll let DC talk more about Franco. I saw him in Discord talking about him a lot. He's got stuff to say, so I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, DC, give us the Franco lowdown.
Yeah, I don't think you can really kind of overstate the type of level of prospect Wander Franco is. Super low strikeout guy, switch hitter. Like I would, if you look at like prospect rankings, you'll see a lot of variation between like even like 2 and 20, right? They're kind of different lists are all over the place. Everyone has Wander Franco as the number one prospect in baseball, 20 years old. I mean, I would put him on the same level of prospect as, I don't know, Trevor Lawrence, right? Where it's just like basically a can't miss type of prospect, probably going to produce right away. I mean, I think he'll be a 4K player at least in, a couple weeks, probably. I think he's going to hit right away.
Not with DK's algorithm. He'll be too
perhaps
fast.
not.
He's gonna go up 100 a week. So
we'll see, because I assume he'll be like 30 or 40% owned. He should be.
Similar to Kelnick. I mean, they did the same. I don't know how they didn't learn with him. He was really cheap, and then he finally was priced up more. But
he busted, right? So he did end up sucking.
But they still raised his price.
The White Sox dude, Vaughn, right? Vaughn, that was going up $100 a week. He started at 2K and he goes 21, 22.
Yeah, for sure. So you make a good point, but this guy is miles ahead of those guys in terms of what to expect in their first taste of the big leagues here. So I have very, very high expectations for him. Hitting second for the Rays, who have a good lineup anyway, kind of shows you what the Rays think of him, which is no shock to me. So yeah, to me, I mean, this isn't even that great of a position anyway, right? There's not that many great options even at the top end. So for this one, I'll be joining you guys in the bargain bin for Wander Franco, who I don't think is a bargain bin player, but you get the bargain bin price. I'll take I think a $2,500 discount on Wander Franco. And the thing about him, if you're talking like fading popular players, and he will definitely be I think he'll be the most popular shortstop tonight, honestly, at all levels. He certainly should be. He never strikes out. So you're probably getting 4 or 5 at bats here where he's probably going to do something. Do you know what I mean? Like for a guy that's going to put the ball in play, who can run, who can steal in a good lineup, like he's not a power prospect who strikes out 30% of the time. Those guys can bust all the time. So if you're fading, it's kind of a tougher fade because he's so cheap. And if he just does anything, he
has a floor.
Yes, he does have a floor, which is weird to say in baseball, but if anyone has a floor, it's a player like this. So yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. And yeah, I think you should just play Wander Franco and not worry about whether he's going to be 15 or 25 or 35% ownership. I think he's a great play no matter what he comes in at.
Yeah, I'm in lockstep.
That locked in the 0 for 4, but there we go.
Yeah, I mean, he's just I think.
Yeah, it's inevitable now. We got to stop talking about him.
Yeah, we're talking about too much. It's not gonna happen. We don't want to get shit tomorrow. But let's talk.
We will anyway, no matter what.
Either way, it's coming. I mean, you give away a free ticket and then people are bitching because the guy already won a free. Like, I mean, are you serious?
Okay,
what other sites are giving away free tickets like Run Pure Sports?
Also, I mean, the dude's in Discord all the time posting awesome gifts. Like he's earned his tickets. So
he's earned 2, 3. I mean,
he's 2 for 2 too. He cashed on both. People are going to be people. He's a good guy.
We should just take this guy full time. He cashes it every time he gets the free ticket.
Yes.
Head on over to State Kings.
All right, let's talk some outfielders. As always, I mean, there's a ton of options you can go to in the outfield. The highest owned ones are once again going to be the Astros. Alvarez hit a bomb last night. He's 4.9K, going to be popular. Michael Brantley. DK just, I mean, they refuse, even in good spots, to bump Brantley like over 4K. I mean, I played a lot of Brantley this season. It's worked out pretty well. 3.9K. I mean, I'll still continue to go to him. We talked about Danny Santana at first base. He's outfield eligible as well, 2.7K leading off. I think the Cardinals guys are solid plays. They're very cheap. Tyler O'Neill, 3.3K. Carlson, 3.3K. Laureano for the A's, 4.4K. He's batting cleanup today. Have a lot of interest in him. Mark Canha, 4.7K, batting leadoff for the Athletics. Chas McCormick, he is batting 7th, 3.1K. He's going to be a lot lower owned than obviously Alvarez and Brantley. I don't hate going to him at 3.1K. Mitch Haniger, I like the Mariners tonight. He's 5K. I think he'll be pretty low on, so probably more of a tournament play there. Chad Pinder batting 5th for the A's, 3.4K. Tons of plays, tons of different ways to go. The A's or the Astros guys are going to be by far the highest owned. Do what you want with that information. DC, talk to me about some outfielders here.
Yeah, the only Astro I'm on, I mentioned it yesterday too. I thought Jordan Alvarez was kind of the guy you could one-off, hit that 3-run home run just because he's got so much power, right? But he also, again, like the Astros, I don't think they're going to bust tonight, but they could, and he could still have a good game. So I will have Jordan Alvarez while not having that many Astros in general on my lineups. I really like the call hoop on the St. Louis guys. I think they're a sneaky stack tonight, specifically Tyler O'Neill, just massive power. He's got speed as well. The two things that you want against Derek Skubal. You want to be right-handed, you want to have power, you want to have speed. He's got all three. You know, it's going to be high fastballs challenging O'Neill. He's going to swing it out of his shoes, and it's going to end up in a strikeout or I think a home run. So that's a player 3,300 you want in a tournament, especially. We talked about Ohtani. I don't think we need to go back over him. There are, I think, a couple extremely low-owned guys that you could play as leverage plus low-owned. Juan Soto against Zach Wheeler. Nobody will play. Dude is one of the best fastball hitters in baseball. He's going to get a ton of fastballs from Zach Wheeler. And I know it's been a rough season for Soto so far, but I don't know. I feel pretty good when I got Soto on my team. He's coming to the plate at 2% ownership. So I think he's a fun contrarian option. Kind of think the same thing about Ronald Acuna at 6,500. Again, if you're spending down a pitcher, you can get Ronald Acuna probably at what, 2 to 3% ownership. I know it's a tough matchup, but man, those are the type of tournament plays that can take you pretty far if they hit, and certainly that he's capable of hitting. Adolis Garcia, I think, is a solid play here, along with Joey Gallo. People are going to see Gallo left versus left, but you know, I think he's capable of doing damage. Cole Irvin, not impressive to me. So a few contrarian options at the top, obviously. Some pretty good punt plays, as always, in the outfield, right? That's pretty much every day. There's cheap guys that you can use in the outfield if you want to go that direction.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a loaded position.
Yeah.
All right, before I throw it over to Title, talk about the outfield. We got the stacks coming up. We got the plays of the day. But we have to get those likes up. We got about 550 watching. We're sitting at about 180. So do us that favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so we don't have to pull the plug on the show early. Got about a couple of minutes before we get to those stacks. So
good viewership these last couple of days. Good stuff.
Yeah, we love to see it. I mean, when you
winding down,
yeah,
all MLB.
More focus on MLB, give consistent winners. The people want to be here, so can't blame them. The numbers are looking good, and we honestly appreciate everyone tuning in. I mean, we feel like these shows are very helpful. It's kind of a free preview to our premium product at Run Pure Sports. If you ever want to give it a try, like I said, we got that promo code RPS Heater 25% off your first monthly payment at Run Pure Sports. And if you just want to continue to come in for the free shows, I don't blame you. Do that as well. We like that. So we appreciate everyone tuning in. Title, thoughts in the outfield. But if you don't subscribe, the first thing you should freaking do is hit that damn like button.
It's pretty low to not be a subscriber. Watch the free show and not hit the like button. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's as bad as it gets. That's a massive insult.
It's not good.
We've seen man go and cut it off too before. He actually stuck with his guns one day and no free plays. He just closed out. So hit the like button.
I've done it a couple times, and I'm definitely willing to do it.
It's not something we want to do. It's something you have to do once in a while.
Yeah, I think the people are going to come through for us today.
Yeah, I think so too.
Definitely. Yeah. So outfield, I'm very similar to what you guys said. I mean, Alvarez and Ohtani are definitely the two top plays in the outfield. They still are underpriced. Tyler O'Neill's very underpriced too. A couple of guys you didn't mention, Akil Baddoo, 2.3K in the 5-hole.
Great.
I like him. Yep. He's way too cheap. I mean, the Detroit outfield as a whole, Nomar Mazara is 2.3K as well. Robbie Gross.
To be very clear, though, Baddoo over Mazara tonight.
For sure, 100%. Yeah. I'm listening. I mean, I
know. You guys are the same price, and people are maybe having to choose between them. It's Baddoo tonight.
100% Baddoo for sure. And then Robbie Grossman's 3.3K. I'm going to play most of the guys you said. Ohtani and Alvarez, I really want. Tyler O'Neill is way underpriced at 3.3K. If Jason Hayward gets in the lineup, he's only 2.4K. That's more Cubs exposure. Austin Slater, he's expected to lead off against Andrew Heaney. I'm fine with him. I know DC likes Posey, so you can get a little mini stack there. But I really want Alvarez. Brantley, you guys already mentioned, 3.9K. He's way too cheap. So I'm sticking with Alvarez, Ohtani, Baddoo, Brantley, and then if you need some Tyler O'Neill, Slater, stuff like that. But you really want at least one of Alvarez or Ohtani on this slate, in my opinion. I just think they're the clear top.
I'll recommend a fade here in the outfield. Danny Santana, who I believe is leading off for Boston.
Yeah, he is.
This guy is terrible. I mean, I don't know why he's leading off, but he's going to have tough matchups in this game, right? You get Kittredge, the opener, who's a very good reliever. Yarbrough, right? Not a lot of damage given up typically. And then you got the rest of the Rays bullpen behind him. So give me Baddoo over Santana by a large margin. I don't know where Baddoo's hitting. I don't really care. I just think he's
hitting 5, which you'll take perfect. That.
There you go.
Very good play.
Yep.
Yes, Santana will be much higher on for sure than Baddoo. So tournament pivot right there for you. All right, the chat, I mean, just comes through in a big freaking way. I mean, go from like 180 all the way up to about 250. Love to see it. Love to see it.
All you gotta do is ask, I guess. I don't know.
That's all it takes.
Seems like you shouldn't have to, but
yeah,
I get it. Yeah.
One of those things. All right, let's talk some stacks. Like we said, the Astros by far are going to be the highest owned. But outside of that, I don't think you really need to worry about ownership. I think we're going to see it pretty spread out outside of the Astros. For me personally, I've talked about the Mariners late game. I don't think many people are going to be on them. Give me the Mariners as a sneaky stack. I like the Cubs as well. I don't think they'll be super highly owned, but Mariners and Cubs are kind of two stacks that I'm looking at. Title. A couple stacks outside of the Astros.
Well, yeah, Cubs and Mariners fit the best with a 2 higher pitcher build because they're underpriced. I like the White Sox. If you are spending down at pitcher, I think they're going to be low owned. They are higher priced, but I'm not going to be able to get too many of them because I do like the double spend up at pitcher. Astros are clearly the best. And then one more, the Oakland A's. I mean, they're in a very good spot. They're going to get the opener. And then is it confirmed Jordan Lyles after that?
That's what they're saying. I haven't looked into it further than that. But I mean, Lyles is terrible against everybody. Yeah. It just sucks.
We hope it's Jordan Lyles after,
yes,
regardless.
Absolutely.
Regardless, though.
And the rest of their bullpen's terrible, too. So it's like,
yeah,
if you look at this, the A's are going to have a good matchup for 9 straight innings, pretty much regardless of what the Rangers do. So I don't
on the road too. You're guaranteed the 9th inning at bat.
Yep.
Just makes a lot of sense. So a lot of good stacks, hard to narrow it down, but those are the ones I'm looking at.
All right, DC, talk to me about a couple stacks you're interested in here tonight.
Yeah, by far my favorite, once you consider what I think will be very, very low ownership, is the Dodgers against Blake Snell. For whatever reason, still sitting at a team total below 4, which it's like trying to scare me off these guys, but I'm not moving. I'm sticking with my Dodgers. They're expensive too, which is going to make them even cheaper, right? But I don't know. If you get the team that scores 12, 13 runs, it doesn't matter what price they were. So I think the Dodgers are going to crush Blake Snell, and then they're going to get into some rookie relievers who really are just not very good either. So I don't know. I guess I'm missing something here. It seems like, but I'm in on the Dodgers. First thing I did after researching this slate was bet on the Dodgers, because I think they should be big favorites in this game, frankly. A couple other ones that I'm looking at, the Cardinals. I wouldn't be shocked if Skubal pitched a great game and mowed through this lineup, but I think if he doesn't, if you told me Tariq Skubal was going to have a poor game, I think we'll get very, very high scores from the Cardinals, because I think it's going to be home runs, right? Guys all over the bases with walks. You can steal on Tariq Skubal. And then these guys have power. Edman, Carlson, Goldschmidt, Arenado, O'Neill, Yadier Molina, that top 6, I could see doing serious damage if Tariq Skubal is not on his game, which obviously is not all that unlikely, right? So I think they've got a lot of upside. And then the A's were going to be the third team that I mentioned. For some reason, I think they're going to go a little bit under the radar tonight, which I don't think they should, because they're going to have a good matchup all 9 innings in this one, and we know they can do damage.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do like the A's as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into the plays of the day. After us, we have JSU, BigT, Holden taking you up to lock. That's part of the premium product over here at Rumpier Sports. So make sure to get in there and check those guys out. All right, let's go to the plays of the day. We'll go to you first, Title, with the SO play of the day. Who do you got for us?
Yeah, I first want to just say Anthony Rizzo's not in the lineup. So a little more outfield. Jake Marisnick's only 2.3K as well. And then I didn't mention Chas McCormick at 3.1K, but he's obviously in consideration too. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, how many good plays on this slate there are. Because I'm double spending up pitcher, I wanted to go with a cheaper guy. And it's always nice here in DC. Love to play too. So Akil Baddoo is my guy, 2.3K. People are gonna play Toro. They're gonna play Franco. They're probably, I mean, he's gonna maybe get some ownership, but Akil Baddoo, 2.3K. I like him.
Cosign.
Yeah, love that call.
Always a good sign.
Low own, big upside. All right. For the Forex play of the day, I've been talking up the Mariners. I'm sticking with the Mariners. I'm going my boy Mitch Haniger. Should be pretty low owned tonight. A lot of solid plays in the outfield. He's 5K, so it is kind of a spend, but I'm going with Haniger against Freeland here. Really like him in that late game. It's going to be Mitch Haniger as the Forex play of the day. And lastly, we're heading to Mom's Basement, where you can get the microwavable goods. You can get your pizza rolls, get your tater tots, get your bagel bites, everything you need. DC, who do we got for the Mom's Basement play of the day?
Yeah, we're going to need some snacks tonight, Mom, because this is a good night of baseball. I'm going to be watching all night long, be in the Discord, sweating these games out. I'm really looking forward to the slate. Part of the reason is the late night hammer Dodgers stack I'll be on. And I think once you take ownership into consideration, my favorite play on this slate is Chris Taylor for the Dodgers, priced right next to, of all people, Jose Altuve, which is just perfect for me. He's been smashing lefties. Snell has been getting smashed by righties. He's expensive for sure, but he's been fantastic. I think he'll be hitting second. So yeah, Chris Taylor, you'll be all alone with me and, 550 of our friends. Some of you at least will join me on the Hopefully not as many as Tatis, right? Hopefully lower than 13%. I think so on Chris Taylor. I think lower than 5% on Chris Taylor is my prediction, and he's going to do some damage tonight.
Definitely. I did forget to mention the Hot Pockets too. Yeah, I'm sure Mom's basement.
I try to stick to the bagel bites most nights, but tonight is a special night. I might have to get out the smorgasbord of microwavable treats.
Love it. Absolutely love to see it. All right, we are going to get on out of here though. Like I said, check out JSU, Big T, Holden. On the Up to Lock show. We'll be back tomorrow breaking down the MLB slate. So for Titletown, for DC, I'm Hoop. Good luck tonight in your contest.
Good luck.